You are braced against the rail, and the night is trying to peel you off the ship. The deck is slick, salt spray, rain, and something greasy you can't name in the dark, and the wood under your boots bucks like a living thing. The mast above you groans, a long, tortured sound that turns your stomach because it's not just noise, it's warning. The wind hits in hard punches, and the ship answers with a full-bodied shudder that runs up your legs and into your teeth. Your hands are numb from gripping wet rope. Your fingers feel like they belong to somebody else, and you can't trust them. You look down, and the sea is there, close enough to grab, black and foaming and hungry, slamming itself against the hull with a violence that doesn't get tired. Somewhere forward something snaps, a crack like a gunshot, followed by a sharp whip of rigging that slices through the dark. You flinch too late. The line hisses past, close enough that you feel the air it drags, close enough that you imagine it taking your face clean off. The ship lurches, and you lose your footing, sliding on your side toward the scuppers. Your shoulder hits a coil of rope, and the impact knocks breath out of you. For a second, you're weightless, not in a good way, like the deck has decided it doesn't want you anymore. You grab at anything, splintered rail, wet canvas, another man's boot, and all you get is cold water and rough wood. The lantern light swings wildly, flashing brief, ugly pictures, a torn sail flapping like a wounded animal, a hatch cover slamming open and shut, a body-shaped shadow slammed to the planks and not getting up. Another crash of thunder, another shove of wind, another sickening tilt, and now the rail is higher than your head and the sea is all you can see past it. You know what happens if you go over. You don't get a heroic last thought. You don't get found. You get swallowed. You get dragged under by your clothes and boots and the panic in your chest. You get turned into a rumor the ship carries for a day and then forgets. You haul yourself upright, scraping skin off your palms on the rail. Your throat tastes like iron, like you bit your tongue earlier and never noticed. The rain hits your face like thrown gravel. Your eyes water and you can barely keep them open. You try to suck in air and it comes in ragged, mixed with salt, mixed with smoke from the galley that somehow still clings to everything, even out here in the storm. The ship gives another violent roll and the world tilts so hard you feel your stomach lift. You hear shouting somewhere, but it's meaningless, just animal noise torn up by wind. A spar swings loose above you, a dark shape cutting across the sky, and you duck on instinct. You feel it past, feel the wind it drags, and you understand with brutal clarity that the ocean isn't the only thing that can kill you tonight. The ship itself is a collection of heavy moving parts, and you are the softest thing on it. Hold that feeling, that tight, ugly awareness that you are small and breakable and far from help. Because this is not a story you listen to at a distance. This is a night you live inside. Welcome to this simulation. You are not looking down at history from a safe, clean place. You are stepping onto a whaling ship in the Moby Dick era, where men work until their hands split, where the air is thick with oil and rot, and where the sea decides what you get to keep. If you want more nights like this, more survival inside the real past, subscribe. It helps you stay here. It helps you survive history. Now you go back to the beginning, before the wind turned mean, before the deck became a trap, before the ship decided to test what you're made of.
You are on watch after sunset, and the first thing you notice is that darkness at sea is not like darkness on land. On land there are edges, trees, roofs, streets. Even if you can't see them, you know they exist. Out here the night is a lid. It presses down on the water and flattens everything into the same cold color. The horizon disappears. The stars look sharper than they should, like nails hammered into a board. The moon is there, thin and bright, and it doesn't make things friendly. It just makes the emptiness clearer. The ship is an old working body beneath you. The deck planks are worn smooth in places from years of boots and dragged equipment. In other places they're rough and splintered, the kind of rough that catches on your skin and leaves little bits of you behind. Every step carries a small risk. Trip on a line, catch your toe on a cleat, skid on something you didn't see. The sea is calm right now, not kind, just calm, and the ship moves in a steady rhythm that tries to lull you into thinking you can relax. You don't, not really. The smell hits you even up here, even with the open air. It's not one smell, it's layers. Salt first, always salt, wet and sharp. Then tar from the rigging, thick and sticky, baked into the rope. Then old wood that's been soaked and dried and soaked again until it smells like sour earth. Under it all, the wailing stink that never leaves, rancid oil, blubber, and the sweet sick rot of scraps that can't be fully cleaned out. It clings to the ship like a second skin. It sits in the seams between planks. It soaks into your clothes. You can wash your hands and still smell it in the cracks of your fingers. You breathe it in anyway because you don't have a choice. Your lungs take what they're given. The air has a bite to it tonight. Not freezing, but cold enough that dampness turns into a slow ache. The wind slides under your shirt and finds the sweat at your lower back from work earlier, and it chills you right where you're weakest. Your shoulders are tight, your hands are stiff. You flex your fingers against the rail, feeling the roughness of salt crust and dried spray. The ship makes noise even when nothing is happening. That's the truth you learn fast. The rigging creaks, blocks knock softly, the sails whisper and snap as they catch and release wind. Somewhere below, water sloshes in the bilge with each roll, a constant reminder that the sea is already inside the ship, riding along with you. And the hull itself, timbers, joints, beams, groans like an animal that never fully sleeps. At first it sounds like complaint. After a while, it sounds like language. You start to recognize which groan means a shift in the wind and which one means a heavy roll. You start to hear stress. You start to hear when the ship is uneasy. You are not alone up here, but it can feel like you are. Other men move through the dark in shapes and sounds, boots thudding, a cough, the scrape of rope. Someone spits over the side, the sound small and lost. Someone wraps tighter into their coat and you can hear the fabric rasp. There's no laughter right now, not on watch. Laughter costs energy. Laughter makes you forget where you are. You look out across the water because that is your job. Scan the surface for anything that matters. A spout, a slick, a fin cutting the moon's reflection, any sign that the ocean is about to give up what you came for. But most nights it gives you nothing. Most nights it gives you a flat black stretch of water and the feeling that you are staring at something that doesn't care if you stare back.
Waiting is work here. It's its own kind of labor. Your eyes ache from trying to pull shapes out of darkness. Your neck gets stiff from holding the same posture. Your mind drifts and you drag it back. You count the creaks. You count the minutes between waves. You count your breaths. You tell yourself you're alert, even when your body is begging to go dull. And underneath that waiting is another thing you don't say out loud. You are always listening for the ship to change its mind about you. Because the sea doesn't announce itself politely. Weather turns fast. A swell can rise out of nowhere. A line can part. A spar can crack. A man can slip. And it only takes one of those things to turn a quiet night into panic. Below deck, earlier, you saw what this ship carries. The tryworks, brick furnaces for rendering blubber, sit like a dirty heart in the middle of the vessel, stained black with soot and old grease. Even cold, they smell. The barrels are stacked and wedged and strapped, each one a promise of money and a reason men keep coming back to this life. The tools are everywhere, spades, hooks, knives, blocks, tackle. Everything built for cutting and pulling and forcing the ocean's weight into human hands. The boat davits stand ready like claws. The harpoons, iron heads with wooden shafts, wait like teeth. This is not a ship made for comfort. It is a machine for taking. You remember the heat from the galley, a cramped box where the cook tries to feed too many men with too little fresh food. The air down there is heavy, thick with smoke and steam and grease.
the smell of salted meat, old bread, and whatever has gone a little off, but gets eaten anyway because wasting food is a sin at sea. You remember the barrels of water that taste faintly of wood and something stale. You remember the way men drink and still feel thirsty. You remember the bunks, narrow, crowded, damp, the sound of bodies shifting in sleep, the soft suffering of men trying to rest while the ship never stops moving. You remember how the air below deck feels used up, like it's been breathed too many times. Sweat and mildew and unwashed clothes, oil that seeps into everything. Rats you don't always see, but you know are there because you hear scratching, and sometimes in the dim lantern light you catch a quick shape disappearing behind casks. Up on deck now, the cold air is cleaner, but it doesn't feel clean. It feels sharp. It feels like it's cutting you slowly. You can sense weather coming before it arrives, not because you're special, because you've been out here long enough that your body learned to read the small signs. The wind shifts a little. It doesn't just blow, it changes angle, changes temperature. The sea surface changes texture, less glass, more restless skin. The ship's motion changes too, a deeper roll, a slow lift and drop that wasn't there an hour ago. Clouds move in and swallow stars. The moon turns fuzzy behind thin cover. The dark becomes heavier, as if someone poured it into the sky. You feel it in your gut before you see it. Something is lining up out there.
You tighten your grip on the rail. You adjust your stance, feet wider, knees soft, ready for the deck to move. You look toward the sails. They're still full, still drawing, but the sound has changed. Less whisper, more snap. Canvas under tension, rope under strain. You can hear the rigging complain in a higher pitch, small noises that say the ship is starting to work harder. The men around you change, too. They don't talk more, they talk less. They move with more purpose. Somebody checks a knot. Somebody tests a line with a tug. You see a lantern bob as a figure disappears toward the foredeck. There's a readiness in the way bodies hold themselves, like animals bracing for a kick. The waiting becomes sharp. You stop thinking about whales. You think about the ship. You think about what breaks first. A gust hits, not strong enough to be dangerous, but sudden enough to remind you who's in charge. The sail bellies hard. The ship leans and then rights itself. A burst of spray comes over the bow and dusts the deck in cold salt. You taste it on your lips. You wipe your mouth with the back of your hand and feel the grit of dried brine there, rough as sand. Another gust, stronger. The rigging sings for a moment, a high, thin note like wire pulled tight. You look up, and the masts sway, their dark shapes cutting across the clouded sky. You know masts break. You've seen it, or you've heard the stories. A mast goes, and it takes rigging with it, and it turns the deck into a whip pit full of flying rope and splintered wood. Men get cut in half. Men get thrown over. Men get pinned under wreckage and drown on deck while everyone else tries to save the ship. You swallow hard. Your throat feels dry, even with salt in the air. The cold gets meaner. Wind finds every gap in your clothing. Your ears start to ache. Your cheeks go numb. You shift your weight and feel how tired your legs really are. You've been working all day, hauling and scrubbing and adjusting and carrying. Sea work is constant, and rest is never complete. You feel it now in the dull pain in your lower back, the soreness in your arms, the tightness behind your knees. The ship rolls again, deeper this time, a slow lift that makes your stomach float, then a drop that makes your teeth clack together. You hear something slide below deck, barrels settling, loose gear shifting, and it makes you tense because that kind of sound can mean nothing, or it can mean a chain is coming loose or a cask has broken its lashings. Weight moving inside the ship is a danger all its own. You look out. The sea is darker now, less reflective. The surface looks thicker, like oil.
The horizon is gone. The clouds have swallowed the stars. The air smells different, still salt and tar and whale stink, but now there's a raw, wet smell, like rain coming fast. And then you hear it. Not thunder yet, not the big violence, just a low, distant rumble, like the sky clearing its throat. Your skin prickles. You tell yourself it's just weather. Weather is normal, weather is part of the job. Ships have been doing this forever, men have been doing this forever. You tell yourself that because you need your hands steady, you need your mind steady. Panic makes mistakes, and mistakes on deck at night become deaths.
The first drops of rain are sparse. They hit the planks and vanish. Then more. Then enough that the deck starts to shine in lantern light. Wet wood becomes slick wood. Every rope darkens and grows heavier. Your sleeves dampen. The wind pushes the rain sideways and it stings your face. The ship's noise changes as the rain begins. It's subtle but real. The sails sound heavier. The rigging creaks with more strain. The deck sounds different under boots, less hollow, more muffled. You feel the moment when the storm decides to stop being far away. The wind comes again, harder, sustained. The ship leans and stays leaned for a beat too long. Your body compensates, muscles firing to keep you upright. Your hands clamp down until your knuckles hurt. The rain thickens. The lantern light blurs. The darkness grows teeth. You are still at the beginning. You are still in the setup. Nothing has snapped yet. No one has gone over. No spar has come loose. But you can feel the line tightening in the world, like something being drawn back before it strikes. You stand there and wait, because that is what you do on a whaling ship. You wait for whales. You wait for orders. You wait for the sea to show you mercy or not. And the worst part is, you can't tell which one it's going to be until it happens. You wake to the smell before anything else. Not a new smell. Nothing on this ship is new. But stronger, closer, as if the night has pressed it into your face. Your eyes open to darkness broken by a faint, swinging lantern glow that never fully settles. The ship is still moving, always moving, and your body has learned to sway with it even while lying down. Your back aches against the hard bunk boards. Your shoulders are stiff. Your mouth is dry. The air you breathe feels used up, thick and warm despite the cold night outside. The stench sits heavy in your chest. Old whale oil, half-rendered blubber, sour sweat, damp wool, mold creeping through wood, and the faint sharpness of human waste trapped in buckets that won't be emptied until morning. It's a smell that doesn't hit all at once. It layers itself slowly, like something crawling over you while you sleep. You breathe shallow without meaning to, trying not to pull too much of it in, but your lungs don't listen. They take what they're given. You shift in your bunk and the boards creak. The motion sends a dull pain through your ribs where you knocked them earlier hauling gear. Somewhere close, another man snores, a wet, uneven sound that stops and starts. Somewhere farther off, someone coughs, deep and ugly, like it's scraping something loose inside his chest. You don't look. You don't need to. You already know what sickness looks like out here. The lantern swings again and throws light across the low ceiling, showing beams darkened by years of smoke and grease. The shadows move too much, stretching and shrinking with every roll of the ship. Your brain knows they're just shadows. Your gut isn't convinced. You've learned that down here, at night, your mind doesn't always stay on your side. The heat is wrong. That's the thing that bothers you most. Even at night, even with rain and wind outside, the air below deck stays warm. Not a healthy warmth, a trapped warmth. It clings to your skin and makes sweat break out along your spine and under your arms. Your shirt sticks to you. Your hair feels greasy. Everything feels slightly wet even when it isn't.
You sit up slowly, careful not to crack your head on the beam above. The ship rolls, and your stomach lurches. You pause until the motion settles, then swing your legs over the side of the bunk. Your bare feet touch the deck, and you feel grit and dampness under your soles. Sawdust mixed with grease, laid down earlier to soak up spills, now spread thin and useless. It smells worse when you disturb it. You breathe through your mouth and taste oil anyway. You didn't come down here to sleep, not really. You came down because the smell on deck, salt and rain and tar, wasn't strong enough to drown out what lives in this ship. Down here there's no pretending. This is the inside of the voyage. This is what the ship carries with it wherever it goes. You stand and steady yourself against a post. Your fingers slide on the wood. It's slick with old residue, polished smooth by hands just like yours, hands that gripped here when the ship rolled hard or when something went wrong. The thought sticks with you. This post has felt panic before. You move toward the center of the ship, toward the tryworks. Even cold, even unlit, they dominate the space. Brick stained black, iron fittings dull and greasy. This is where the blubber gets cut down and boiled until it gives up oil. This is where the ship earns its money. This is where the worst smell comes from. Burnt fat, old smoke, and something sweet rotten that never fully leaves no matter how much seawater gets thrown over it. You remember standing here earlier while the pots were hot. The heat was brutal, pressing against your face and chest like a wall. Sweat poured down your back, your eyes burned. The smell was so strong it felt like it coated the inside of your mouth. Men worked stripped to the waist, skin shining, muscles moving in a steady, exhausted rhythm. Nobody talked unless they had to. Talking wasted breath. Talking let the smell in deeper. Now it's quiet, but the smell lingers like a memory that won't fade. You take a step closer, and your stomach tightens. Hunger does that to you. It makes everything sharper. The smell of oil mixes with the memory of food. Hard bread that cracks your teeth, salt meat that has to be soaked and boiled to be chewable, thin stew stretched too far. You ate earlier. You're still hungry. You're always hungry. Your body remembers land food sometimes, fresh food, warm bread, meat that doesn't fight back. Those thoughts sneak in when you're tired, and you push them away because they don't help. They make the hunger louder. A rat scurries along a beam and freezes when it sees you. You lock eyes for a second, both of you still. Then it vanishes into darkness, claws scratching briefly on wood. You feel a flash of something ugly. Envy, maybe. The rat lives here too, but it didn't choose this. You move aft, toward the barrels. They're stacked tight, lashed with rope, each one sweating oil through the seams. Some of the wood is dark and swollen. Some of the iron hoops are rusted. The smell here is strongest, thick, heavy. It feels like breathing through cloth soaked in grease. You rest a hand on one barrel and feel warmth, even now. The oil holds heat like a living thing. You wipe your hand on your trousers without thinking and make the stain worse. Everything you own already smells like this anyway. You think about how long the voyage is supposed to last, months more, maybe longer if the luck is bad. You try not to count the days. Counting makes the time real, and time is an enemy on a ship like this. It stretches, it presses, it wears men down without leaving marks you can see right away. A creak runs through the hull, deeper than the others. The ship shifts. You feel it in your knees. Water sloshes louder in the bilge. The sound is close, too close. You know it's normal. You've been told it's normal. Still, your jaw tightens. You move again, careful, deliberate. The ceiling feels lower the farther you go. The lantern light doesn't reach the corners. You pass bunks filled with shapes that might be sleeping men, or might be something else if you let your mind wander too far. You keep your eyes forward. The smell changes slightly near the head, sharper, human. Buckets sit half full, sloshing gently with the ship's motion. You turn your face away and breathe shallow again. There's no relief down here, just different kinds of bad air. You lean against the bulkhead and close your eyes for a moment. The ship rolls and the wall presses back into you. You imagine, briefly, what it would be like to step outside into clean air and never come back down. The thought is dangerous. You push it away. Your ears pick up the sounds now that you're still. The constant groan of timbers under stress, the soft clink of metal on metal as something shifts, the creak of rope, the distant rush of water along the hull. Above it all, the faint hiss of wind and rain filtering down through the deck planks. You realize the storm has settled in, not the worst of it yet, but enough that the ship is working harder. You picture the deck above you, slick and dark, lanterns swinging, men braced against the rail, lines drawn tight. You picture how easy it would be to slip, how fast something could go wrong. Your stomach tightens again, not from hunger this time. You open your eyes and push off the wall. You don't want to be down here when things start breaking. Down here, there's nowhere to go, no space to run, just heavy things and low ceilings and darkness. As you move back toward your bunk, the smell feels stronger, not weaker. It gets into your head. You feel it behind your eyes. You feel it clinging to the inside of your nose. You swallow, and your throat feels coated.
You understand something important in that moment, something men don't always say out loud. The ship is already taking pieces of you. Not flesh yet, not blood, but comfort, clean air, quiet, the ability to forget where you are. It takes those first, slowly, so you don't notice right away. You sit back down on your bunk and pull your boots closer. You don't take them off. You've learned better than that. You keep them ready, laces loose enough to get on fast. You keep your knife where you can reach it. You keep your coat folded just right. You lie back and stare at the underside of the deck above you. The lantern swings and the shadows move again. This time, one of them looks like a man standing over you, and your heart jumps hard before your brain catches up. You curse silently and force yourself to breathe slow. Sleep doesn't come easy. It never does. Your body's tired enough, but your mind keeps circling the same thoughts, the smell, the storm, the way the ship felt under your feet earlier. You think about the line between routine and disaster, how thin it is out here. You think about how fast the ocean can turn waiting into violence. The ship rolls again, sharper now. Something thumps above, heavy. You hear boots running, a muffled shout torn apart by wind. Your muscles tense on instinct. You're not on deck, but your body reacts anyway. The smell feels thicker, like the air itself is bracing. You understand now that this stench, this waiting, this discomfort, this is not the worst of it. This is just the ship settling you into place, making sure you know exactly how small your space is, how little room there is for error. You lie there in the dark, breathing bad air, listening to the ship strain, knowing that when the real trouble comes, it won't announce itself gently. And somewhere above you, the night is tightening its grip. You are back on deck before the bell finishes ringing, pulling yourself up out of the hatch as the ship rises beneath you. Cold air hits your face hard after the heat below, sharp enough to make your eyes water. Rain needles your skin. The lantern light up here feels weak, like it's struggling to stay alive in the wind. You plant your boots wide and let the deck move under you until your balance settles. The smell changes again, less rot, more salt, but the oil never fully disappears. It rides everything, even the rain. The night has grown heavier while you were below. Clouds have swallowed the moon. The sea is no longer smooth. It's restless now, its surface broken into uneven ridges that catch and lose what little light there is. The horizon is gone. There's no line between sky and water anymore, just darkness meeting darkness. You feel as though the ship is floating inside a closed room. You take your position and face forward, eyes straining into the black. This is the waiting watch, the kind that feels longer than any other. Not because anything is happening, but because nothing is. Your job is simple. Look, listen,
Don't miss the moment when the ocean decides to show its hand. In practice, it means standing still while your body aches and your mind tries to drift somewhere safer. Rain slicks the deck and turns every plank into a risk. You feel the grain through your soles, memorizing it by touch. You know which spots are worn smooth, which ones catch a heel, which ones tilt slightly because the plank is warped over years of salt and sun. You trust your feet more than your eyes right now. The wind comes in uneven bursts. Sometimes it eases, just long enough to make you think the worst might pass. Then it surges again, harder, slamming into the sails and making the rigging sing. The sound crawls along your spine. Ropes under tension have a voice, and you're learning to hear when they're angry. The ship answers every push of wind with a groan, not one sound but many layered together, beams complaining, planks rubbing, fastenings working loose by degrees too small to see. You feel each movement through your legs. The deck lifts, holds, then drops. Your stomach follows. You bend your knees without thinking, letting your body absorb it. You scan the water even though you know it's useless right now. No whale will show itself in weather like this. Still, you look. You've been trained to look until looking becomes automatic. Your eyes pick apart the dark, searching for anything that doesn't belong. A pale line of foam, a sudden break in the surface, a shape moving against the rhythm of the waves. There's nothing, just black water and white caps forming and collapsing. The waiting stretches. Time loses shape. You don't know how long you've been standing there when you realize your jaw is clenched hard enough to hurt. You force it loose. Your shoulders are tight. Your hands ache from gripping the rail. You shift your grip and feel the wet wood, rough and cold, biting into your palms. Somewhere aft, a man retches over the side. The sound is thin and miserable, barely carrying over the wind. You don't look back. Seasickness is weakness the ocean feeds on. Everyone pretends not to notice. It's how men keep their dignity out here, by not naming each other's suffering. The rain thickens, blurring the world into motion and sound. Your eyelashes clump together. You wipe your face with your sleeve and smear salt and water across your skin. Your nose runs. Your lips feel numb. Cold works its way into you, slow and patient, settling in your joints. You think about warmth without meaning to, about the galley fire, about dry clothes, about standing still without bracing yourself. The thought irritates you. Comfort has no place on watch. You push it away and focus on the ship again. The waiting does something to your head. With nothing new to see, your mind starts filling the dark with things that aren't there. Shapes rise in the water and vanish when you stare harder. The hiss of rain turns into whispers. The slap of waves sounds like footsteps keeping pace with the hull. You know it's not real. Knowing doesn't stop your pulse from jumping when the ship creaks louder than it should. A larger swell lifts the bow and holds it there. The deck angles back and you lean forward, muscles tightening. For a moment, the ship feels wrong, like it's balanced on something thin. Then it drops, hard. Your boots slam down. The impact runs up your legs and rattles your teeth. A crate shifts somewhere. Metal clanks. You hear a rope snap tight and then settle. You exhale slowly. You didn't realize you were holding your breath. Lantern light swings across the deck, throwing long shadows that jerk and stretch with every roll. Faces appear and disappear in it, hard, tired faces set into weathered skin. No one speaks. Words would be wasted. Everyone is listening to the same things you are, feeling the same tension coiling tighter with each gust. You feel small out here, not in a dramatic way, in a practical way. The ship is big. The sea is bigger. You are a pair of hands and a bit of weight on the deck. You matter only as long as you can work and hold your footing. The thought isn't cruel, it's just true. Another swell hits, followed by another. The pattern changes. The rhythm you'd grown used to breaks. Your balance adjusts again. Your instincts sharpen. This is how it starts, you think. Not with a single big moment, but with the ship losing its easy motion. The wind shifts direction suddenly, hitting the sails at a new angle. They snap hard, canvas cracking like a whip. The sound is loud enough to make you flinch. Someone moves quickly toward the lines. You see arms working, bodies leaning into rope, faces set in concentration. The lantern swings wildly as the ship rolls again. Your heart beats faster now, not panic yet, readiness, the kind that tightens your chest and clears your head. You feel alive in a way that has nothing to do with comfort. This is the edge you live on out here. You glance toward the bow and see water breaking higher against the hull. Spray flies up and stings your face. The deck is awash now, water racing along the planks toward the scuppers. It soaks your boots instantly. Cold floods in around your feet and climbs your ankles. Your toes go numb. The waiting is over. Not because something has happened, but because something is about to. You can feel it in the way men move faster, in the way the ship strains harder, in the way the sea has gone from distant to aggressive. A deeper sound rolls through the hull, a long, low crackle that makes your stomach drop. Not a break, not yet, just stress finding a voice. You grip the rail harder and lean into the wind. Rain pours now, a solid sheet that erases distance. The world shrinks to the length of the deck and the reach of your arms. You can't see the water clearly anymore, only feel it through the ship's movements. Up and down, side to side, each motion heavier than the last. You realize you're counting. Rolls, breaths, heartbeats, anything to give the waiting structure. Without it, your thoughts start running too far ahead, imagining snapped masts and flying rigging and dark water closing over your head. The ship pitches again, harder, and this time it doesn't recover as smoothly. Your body jolts, your hands slip on the wet rail, and you grab again, skin scraping. Pain flares in your palms, sharp and immediate. You welcome it. Pain is real. Pain keeps you here. You taste salt and blood and rain. Your mouth opens in a silent curse torn away by the wind. The waiting watch has become something else now. Not quiet observation, but a held breath stretched to its limit. Every sense is pulled tight, tuned to the ship and the sea, waiting for the first true failure.
You don't know yet that this night will take something from you. You don't know whose name will be whispered tomorrow, or what sound will mark the moment everything changes. All you know is that the dark is pressing closer, the ship is working harder than it should, and the sea is done being patient. And you are still standing, waiting for it to make its move. You feel it before anyone names it, a wrongness in the ship's motion, not louder, not faster, just off. The deck doesn't rise the way it should. It hesitates, like it's thinking about whether to come back up at all. Your knees bend deeper on instinct, your shoulders hunch, your hands tighten until your fingers ache. Then something gives. It's not dramatic at first, no explosion, no clean break, just a sharp, ugly crack that cuts through the wind like a blade. Wood under stress, finally deciding it has had enough. The sound snaps your head toward it before your mind catches up. Another crack follows, louder, closer, and the ship lurches hard to starboard. Not a roll, a jerk, sudden enough to throw you sideways. Your boots lose their grip. The deck drops out from under you, and you slam shoulder first into the rail. Pain bursts white behind your eyes. Your teeth clack together so hard you're sure you cracked one. Water surges over the side at the same time, cold and heavy, knocking the breath out of you as it floods the deck. For half a second you are pinned, rail digging into your ribs, sea pressing against your legs, and your mind flashes a single clean thought. This is how men go over. You shove back with everything you have. Your shoulder screams, your hands scrabble for purchase on wet wood. You get one palm flat, then the other, and haul yourself upright just as the ship rolls again. Water races past your boots toward the scuppers, carrying loose debris with it, bits of rope, a broken bucket, something metallic clanging as it goes. Someone goes down nearby. You hear the impact before you see it. A body hits the deck hard, a sound that's all weight and no give.
The lantern swings and shows a man sliding, arms flailing, heels digging uselessly in slick planks. He slams into a coil of rope and stops moving. The wind roars louder now, a solid force instead of gusts. Sails snap and thunder overhead, canvas straining against lines pulled too tight too fast. You hear shouting, orders, warnings, names, but it's all shredded by the storm. You don't get words, you get tone, urgency, fear. Another crack, this one deeper, followed by a grinding sound that makes your stomach drop. You look up and see it. A spar has shifted where it shouldn't have. Not broken free yet, but loose enough to move, loose enough to kill. It swings with the roll of the ship, a dark, heavy shape cutting through rain and shadow. You duck as it passes overhead, close enough that you feel displaced air brush your hair. Your heart slams against your ribs. You know what that thing weighs. You've handled it in calm weather. You've cursed it then. Now it's a weapon.
The ship heels hard again. The angle is wrong, too steep. You slide, boots skidding, arms windmilling. Your foot catches on a cleat and twists painfully, but it stops you from going down. Pain shoots up your leg. You bite down on it and grab the nearest line, wrapping it around your forearm without thinking. The rope burns instantly, wet hemp scraping skin raw. You hiss through your teeth but hold on. The line jerks, nearly pulling you off your feet as the sail catches another blast of wind. Your arm feels like it's being yanked from its socket. You lean back, weight low, muscles screaming, and ride it out. Something above finally fails. The sound is unmistakable now. A line parts with a violent snap, sharp as a gunshot. The recoil whips the free end across the deck in a blur. You see it only as movement before you feel it. Air slicing past your face, close enough to sting. It cracks against the rail with a splintering impact and rebounds, lashing again. Men scatter, not in panic, but fast, instinctive movement born of experience. You flatten yourself against the deck, pressing chest to planks, making yourself small. The rope whips overhead, then slaps down hard enough to leave a groove in the wood. If it had caught you, it would have taken more than skin. The ship rolls back the other way, harder. Water pours across the deck again, knee-deep now, slamming you against the planks. You cough as it splashes into your mouth. Salt burns your throat. You spit and choke and claw your way to your knees. The lantern light swings wild, then goes out with a wet hiss. Darkness closes in, thick and immediate. For a second, the only light comes from a distant flash of lightning that turns the deck white and frozen. In that frozen moment, you see too much at once. The loose spar swinging wider now. A man tangled in rigging struggling to free himself. Another figure sprawled near the hatch, not moving. The sea piling up against the hull higher than it should. Then the dark slams back down. You hear a scream. Short. Cut off. Your chest tightens. You don't know who it was. You don't know where they were. The storm doesn't care. You push yourself upright again, hands slipping, muscles shaking. You move because standing still is death. You feel along the rail, counting steps, orienting yourself by touch. The pitch pitches and you stagger, slamming hip first into something solid. Pain flares, but you keep moving. Another wave hits, bigger than the last. The bow digs in and the water comes over as a solid wall. It knocks you flat, face first into the deck. Your cheek slacks wood. Stars burst behind your eyes. Water roars in your ears. For a terrifying second, you can't tell which way is up. You roll onto your side and gasp. Air comes in ragged and thin. You cough hard, chest burning. Rain and sea soak you through completely now. Your clothes cling heavy and cold. Every movement feels slower. Somewhere forward, metal screams. A chain under strain. You hear the deep groan of the hull as the ship twists against the waves. The sound isn't loud. It's deep, felt more than heard. It vibrates through your bones.
You think of the hold, of barrels shifting, of weight moving where it shouldn't. The thought makes your stomach drop harder than any wave. Another flash of lightning. Closer this time. The thunder follows almost immediately, a violent crack that seems to split the sky. The shock hits you in the chest. The ship shudders in response, timbers complaining in chorus. In that brief light, you see the man by the rope coil again. He's moving now. Barely. One arm dragging. Blood dark against the wet deck, already washed thin by rain. You start toward him without thinking. 2 steps. The spar swings again, wider now, tearing loose from whatever still held it. You freeze as it passes between you and the injured man, smashing into the deck with a sound like a tree breaking. Splinters fly. The impact sends a tremor through the planks that rattles your teeth. You drop back instinctively, heart pounding. If you had taken one more step... You don't finish the thought. Orders finally cut through the noise, not words you can hear clearly, but shapes you recognize. Hands waving, bodies pointing, movement toward the lines, toward damage control, toward survival. You follow, because that's what you do. You become part of the machine again. You grab a line and haul with others, timing your pull with the roll of the ship. Your muscles burn, your palms scream. The rope is slick and alive, fighting you every inch. You lean back until your boots slide, heels digging trenches in the wet deck. The sail comes down part way with a violent snap. Not clean, not controlled. Canvas thrashes, catching wind, slamming into rigging. Each impact sounds like a body hitting a wall. You duck and pull and shove, working blind, trusting the men around you to do their part because there's no time to check. Another man stumbles and goes down near your feet. You grab his coat and yank him upright before the next wave can take him. His face flashes white in the lightning, eyes wide, mouth open, rain streaming down his cheeks. He nods once, sharp, and turns back to the line without a word. The deck tilts again, steeper than before. You feel the ship hesitate at the top of the roll, that awful, weightless pause. Then it slams back, throwing everyone sideways. You hit the rail hard enough to see black. Your grip loosens, the line tears from your hands. You scramble, fingers numb, searching for anything solid. Your hand closes around a ring bolt. You cling to it as another wave crashes over, submerging your legs and waist. The water is ice cold now, stealing strength, making your muscles sluggish. You realize you're shaking, not from fear alone, from cold, from effort, from the knowledge that this isn't peaking yet. This is still building. Another sound cuts through everything, a deep, final crack from somewhere below, different from the others, lower, heavier, the kind of sound that doesn't fix itself. The ship lurches violently and stays there, listing at an angle that makes your stomach flip. Loose objects slide en masse. You hear barrels shifting in the hold, the unmistakable thunder of weight breaking free. The deck vibrates as something slams against the hull from the inside. Men shout now, real panic threading through it. You don't need words to understand. A broken lash, a shifted load, the ship's balance compromised. You look toward the hatch just as another body slides past you, carried by water and tilt. This one doesn't try to grab anything. He hits the rail and disappears over the side with a splash, swallowed instantly by the storm. No cry, no chance. The sea takes him and closes. Your chest tightens painfully. There's no time to process it, no time to feel anything but the next movement. The ship rolls again, fighting, wounded but not done. You brace yourself, soaked, bleeding, shaking, heart hammering so hard it hurts. This is the moment, the one that splits the night in two, before and after. You are no longer waiting. You are inside the disaster now. You wake to a body that feels lighter and heavier at the same time. Lighter because something has been burned out of you overnight. Heavier because every movement carries weight it didn't before. The storm is gone, or at least pushed far enough away that the ship no longer feels like it's being shaken apart. But the damage is still here. You feel it before you open your eyes, in the way the deck beneath you holds a slight, unfamiliar angle. Your mouth is dry enough to hurt. Your tongue feels thick. When you swallow, there's nothing there to swallow against, just air and the faint taste of salt and iron. You open your eyes to dim light leaking down through the hatch. Morning, or something close to it. The lanterns are out. The shadows are softer, but they don't feel safer. Your muscles protest as soon as you move. Your shoulders burn. Your arms feel hollowed out like something scooped the strength from inside them. Your hands sting where rope burned skin raw. You flex your fingers slowly, testing what still works. Everything works. It just hurts. You sit up and the ship's list becomes obvious. Not dramatic, just enough to notice. Enough that your balance has to adjust. Enough that your stomach tightens with a quiet understanding. Things didn't go back to normal. The smell below deck has changed. Not improved, changed. Wet wood and bilge water are stronger now, pushed up from places that don't usually breathe. Oil still hangs in the air, but it's mixed with something sour and fresh. Broken casks leaking, soaked provisions starting to turn. You breathe shallow and swing your legs over the bunk. You are hungry. Not the dull background hunger you've lived with since leaving land. This is sharper, closer to pain. Your stomach feels tight and empty, like it's folded in on itself. You press a hand there without thinking, as if you can quiet it. You stand and the ship's list becomes obvious. Not dramatic, just enough to notice. Enough that your balance has to adjust. Enough that your stomach tightens with a quiet understanding. Things didn't go back to normal. The smell below deck has changed. Not wet, not improved. Changed. Wet wood and bilge water are stronger now, pushed up from places that don't usually breathe. Oil still hangs in the air, but it's mixed with something sour and fresh. Broken casks leaking, soaked provisions starting to turn. You breathe shallow and swing your legs over the bunk. You are hungry. Not the dull background hunger you've lived with since leaving land. This is sharper, closer to pain. Your stomach feels tight and empty, like it's folded in on itself. You press a hand there without thinking, as if you can quiet it. You stand and the ship's list becomes obvious. Not dramatic, just enough to notice. Enough that your balance has to adjust. Enough that your stomach tightens with a quiet understanding. Things didn't go back to normal. The smell below deck has changed. Not wet, not improved. Changed. Wet wood and bilge water are stronger now, pushed up from places that don't usually breathe. Oil still hangs in the air, but it's mixed with something sour and fresh. Broken casks leaking, soaked provisions starting to turn. You breathe shallow and swing your legs over the bunk. You are hungry. Not the dull background hunger you've lived with since leaving land. This is sharper, closer to pain. Your stomach feels tight and empty, like it's folded in on itself. You press a hand there without thinking, as if you can quiet it. You stand and the ship's list becomes obvious. Not dramatic, just enough to notice. Enough that your balance has to adjust. Enough that your stomach tightens with a quiet understanding. Things didn't go back to normal.
The smell below deck has changed. Not improved, changed. Wet wood and bilge water are stronger now, pushed up from places that don't usually breathe. Oil still hangs in the air, but it's mixed with something sour and fresh. Broken casks leaking, soaked provisions starting to turn. You breathe shallow and swing your legs over the bunk. You are hungry. Not the dull background hunger you've lived with since leaving land. This is sharper, closer to pain. Your stomach feels tight and empty, like it's folded in on itself. You press a hand there without thinking, as if you can quiet it. You stand, and the ship creaks under your weight. You steady yourself against the bulkhead and wait for the dizziness to pass. It does, slowly. Everything is slower now.
You move toward the galley because that's where food comes from, even when there isn't much of it. The cook is already awake. He always is. The fire is low. Smoke hangs close to the ceiling. The pot on the stove smells thin, watery. You don't see meat. You don't smell fat.
You don't ask. You already know. You're handed a portion that looks smaller than yesterday's, thinner, more water than substance. You take it without comment, because comments don't make food appear. You bring it to your mouth and drink carefully. It's warm at least. Warmth spreads weakly through your chest. Your stomach doesn't thank you. It tightens again, unsatisfied. Around you, men eat in silence. Faces are drawn. Eyes are dull. Someone winces as he chews, a cracked tooth finally making itself known. Someone else eats fast, guarding his portion like it might be taken away. No one talks about the storm. No one talks about the man who went over. Talking costs energy, and energy is already being rationed. You scrape the bottom of your cup and realize you're still hungry, worse than before. The food didn't fix it. It just reminded your body what it's missing. On deck, daylight shows the damage clearly. The spar lies shattered, lashed down temporarily. The sail is torn, canvas flapping uselessly. Lines hang in wrong places. The deck bears new scars, fresh splinters, dark stains that didn't come from rain. The rail where the rope cracked is gouged deep. You work anyway. You always work. Hunger doesn't excuse you. Pain doesn't excuse you. You haul, tie, brace, clean. Your arms shake when you lift. Your legs feel unreliable. You tell them to keep moving, and they do, out of habit if nothing else. As the hours drag on, hunger sharpens. It stops being a background noise and becomes a voice. It tells you to slow down. It tells you to sit. It tells you to conserve. You ignore it because the ship doesn't care what you need. The ship needs hands. By midday, the smell of food drifts up again, weak and disappointing. Another ration, smaller than the last. You eat it slower this time, trying to trick your body into thinking it's more. It doesn't work. Your stomach cramps lightly, then harder. You straighten your back and breathe through it. You start noticing things you didn't before. How often men lick their lips. How someone pockets a crumb of hard bread instead of eating it right away. How the cook avoids meeting anyone's eyes. How the water tastes worse than yesterday, woodier, flatter. You realize, slowly, that this is not a temporary stretch. Supplies were lost in the storm, spoiled, washed, broken. What remains has to last longer now. Hunger settles into you like a second heartbeat. By midday, it affects your thoughts. Small mistakes creep in. You fumble a knot you could tie blind. You forget where you set a tool. You snap at another man for standing too close, then regret it immediately, because regret wastes energy too. Your head feels light when you stand too fast. The horizon tilts more than it should. You catch yourself leaning against the rail longer than necessary, staring out at the water, not for whales, but because it gives you a reason to stop moving. The sea looks indifferent today, calm again, flat, as if it didn't try to kill you hours ago. The sun breaks through clouds briefly, reflecting off the water so brightly it hurts your eyes. You squint and feel a headache bloom behind them. You think about food more than you should, about its weight, its smell, its texture. You remember meals you didn't appreciate enough. You remember eating until you were full and not noticing the moment hunger stopped. The memory makes your jaw tighten. By evening, your hands shake slightly even when you're still. Not enough for anyone to comment on, enough for you to notice. Your body is dipping into reserves it didn't plan to use yet. Dinner is worse than midday. More water, less substance. You swallow it anyway. You consider saving some for later, then realize later will be just as hungry. You drink it all. Night comes again. The ship settles into its damaged rhythm. The list hasn't changed. The creaks sound different now, like a body that never healed right. Below deck, the smell of spoiled provisions grows stronger, something sweet-sour and wrong. You breathe through your mouth and still taste it. Rats are bolder now. You see one clearly, perched on a beam, watching you with bright eyes. It disappears when you move, but not fast.
You lie down in your bunk and feel your stomach clench again, a deeper pain now. You curl slightly without meaning to. Your body is conserving heat, conserving energy, preparing for something. Sleep comes in broken pieces. You dream of eating and wake up angry at yourself. You dream of chewing and wake with your jaw sore. You dream of fullness and wake hollow. Your last thought before sleep pulls you under is simple and heavy. The storm took a man. Now the voyage is taking food, and it will not stop there. You wake in the middle of the night because someone is standing over you. Your eyes open fast, heart already racing, breath catching in your throat. The lantern light is low and unsteady, casting long shadows that crawl across the ceiling. For a moment you are sure of it. A shape blocks what little light there is, a man's outline, broad shoulders, head bent slightly forward as if he's looking down at you. You don't move. You don't breathe. Every muscle locks in place. Then the ship rolls, the lantern swings, and the shape breaks apart into beams and hanging clothes and nothing at all. There is no one there. Your heart keeps pounding anyway, hard enough that you feel it in your neck. You lie still, listening, trying to catch the sound of footsteps, breathing, anything that proves you weren't imagining it. All you hear is the ship, the low groan of timbers, the faint slosh of bilge water, the soft rasp of fabric as someone nearby shifts in sleep.
You tell yourself it was just shadows. You tell yourself you're tired, hungry, on edge. You tell yourself that, and it almost works. You close your eyes again, but sleep doesn't come back cleanly. It circles you instead, brushing close and pulling away. When it does take you, it's shallow and crowded with images that don't settle. Faces you recognize drift past and dissolve. Hands reach for you and vanish. You wake again with your jaw clenched so tight it aches. Morning comes slowly, not with light but with movement. The ship stirs. Men cough. Boots thud overhead. The air below deck feels thicker than yesterday, as if it's been breathed too many times and not given back. You sit up, and the dizziness hits harder now, a brief darkening at the edges of your vision. You grip the edge of your bunk until it passes. Your stomach tightens immediately, sharp and demanding. Hunger is no longer just pain, it's pressure. It presses up into your chest, into your throat, into your thoughts. The smell is worse. Something spoiled overnight. You can tell without seeing it. The air carries a sweet, rotten edge now, layered over oil and damp wood. It makes the back of your tongue tingle unpleasantly. You swallow and feel your throat tighten. You stand and sway slightly, correcting your balance as the ship rolls. The list feels more pronounced today, or maybe you're just weaker. You can't tell anymore. As you move through the space, you feel watched again. Not in a clear way, just the sense of presence. You glance toward a dark corner and your heart jumps when a shape seems to shift. You blink. It's just a hanging coat, swaying with the motion of the ship. You exhale through your nose, slow and controlled. On deck, the daylight feels too bright. The sun sits high enough to reflect off the water in hard white flashes that hurt your eyes. You squint and look away, blinking spots from your vision. The air smells cleaner than below, but the oil never fully leaves. It clings to you, to everything. Work starts immediately. It always does. Repairs are ongoing. Lashings tightened, canvas patched, gear reorganized after the storm's violence. Your body moves through the motions because it has learned them well enough to operate without much thought. That's good, because your thoughts are unreliable now. You catch yourself staring at nothing more than once. Your hands pause mid-task. Someone shouts and you jump, heart slamming hard enough to make your chest ache. You mutter an apology that comes out too sharp, too defensive. Hunger gnaws constantly. It distracts you. It makes the world feel slightly unreal, as if there's a thin layer between you and everything you touch. Sounds feel distant. Edges blur. At midday, when rations are handed out, you take yours and stare at it longer than necessary. It's barely food. Warm water with a few floating scraps.
You drink it slowly, eyes closed, trying to imagine substance where there is none. Your stomach twists in anger when it's gone. You notice the way other men look at their portions now, not casually, with calculation, with something guarded. No one steals, not yet, but the thought has entered the space between you, and once it's there, it doesn't leave easily. The afternoon stretches on. The sun beats down. Sweat runs into your eyes. You wipe it away and your vision swims briefly. The deck seems to tilt more sharply than it should. You correct yourself and keep working. That's when you hear your name, clear as day, spoken close to your ear. You freeze. Your pulse jumps. You turn slowly, scanning faces. Men are working, hauling, tying. No one is looking at you. No one's mouth is moving in your direction. You swallow hard. Your throat is dry again already. You tell yourself it was the wind, rope creaking, canvas snapping. Sounds overlap out here. Your brain fills gaps, that's all. Still, the back of your neck prickles for a long time afterward. Later, as the sun lowers and the light turns dull and slanted, you start seeing movement at the edge of your vision. Small things, flickers. You turn your head, and there's nothing there. You chalk it up to exhaustion, but it keeps happening. A shape on the water that looks like a head, then flattens into a wave. A figure standing near the bow that resolves into bundled canvas. A hand reaching out from behind a barrel that turns into shadow when you look straight at it. You don't mention it. You don't want to be the first to say it out loud. Once things are said, they become real in a way that's harder to shake. By evening, your head aches constantly, a dull pressure behind your eyes. The light seems wrong, too bright one moment, too dim the next. Sounds come and go unpredictably. You have to concentrate harder than usual to follow instructions. Dinner is worse again. You eat it anyway. You would eat almost anything now. Below deck, the air feels hostile, heavy, close. The smell of spoilage is unmistakable. A barrel has gone bad, maybe more than one. The scent seeps into everything, sweet and sour and sickening. It makes your stomach clench even as it begs for food. You move carefully through the space, and again that feeling returns, the sense that someone is just out of sight. You hear a soft sound behind you, like a footstep. You turn fast. Nothing. Your breath comes quicker now. You force it slow again, counting. In, out, in, out. You sit on your bunk and put your head in your hands. Your fingers shake slightly. You notice it and feel a flicker of fear. Not of the ship, not of the sea, of your own body turning against you. Sleep comes hard and uneven again. When it comes, it brings dreams that feel too solid. You dream you're back on deck during the storm, but the ship is empty. No shouting, no lanterns, just you and the wind. You dream you hear something moving behind you, and when you turn, it's the man who went overboard, skin pale and eyes open, mouth moving without sound.
You wake, gasping, heart hammering, sweat cold on your skin. This time, you don't see shapes. You hear breathing. Slow. Close. You sit up so fast your head spins. The sound stops instantly. You strain your ears, listening past the creaks and groans of the ship. Nothing. Just the normal noises, the background hum of a vessel at sea. You lie back down, but you don't close your eyes again. Morning feels like relief and accusation all at once. You're still here, still functional, still useful, but something has shifted. You feel thinner inside, not just from hunger, but from the effort of holding your mind together. As you work through the day, you start noticing others slipping too. A man snaps at nothing. Another laughs briefly at a joke that wasn't made. Someone stands staring into the water too long, unmoving, until a shout pulls him back. No one comments. No one wants to draw attention. The sea is calm again, almost gentle. It reflects the sky cleanly, as if nothing bad has ever happened on its surface. The sight makes you uneasy. Calm feels like mockery now. By afternoon, you catch yourself talking under your breath. Not full sentences, just fragments, reminders, counts. You stop when you realize you're doing it. You rub your face hard, trying to ground yourself in sensation. Your skin feels rough, salt-cracked, real. As night approaches, the lanterns are lit again. Shadows bloom across the deck and below. They look deeper now, more solid. You find yourself tracking them automatically, just in case. You understand something now, with a clarity that sits heavy in your chest. The hunger isn't just weakening your body, it's thinning the walls in your head. And the ship is full of dark corners, old deaths, and long nights that don't care whether you're strong enough to keep them out. You smell it before you're told. Not rot this time, not oil, not bilge, something cleaner, sharper. Canvas, freshly wetted rope, the smell of labor done for a reason no one wants. Your stomach tightens, and for a moment you hope you're wrong. You aren't. You find the body on the main deck, laid out near the rail where the work is easiest. The ship is steady today, or steady enough, the sea calm and bright in a way that feels wrong. Sunlight hits the planks and makes everything too clear. There's no hiding in this light. You recognize the man immediately. Everyone does. You don't need a name. He was there yesterday. He hauled when you hauled, ate when you ate, swore when the rope burned. Now he's still. They've washed him as best they can. Seawater darkens his hair and stiffens it against his skull. His face looks thinner than it should, skin pulled tight. His eyes are closed. Someone has straightened his limbs, but his body won't quite accept the shape. It wants to curl back into itself, as if bracing against cold that's already gone.
The wound is visible. They didn't cover it fully. A deep crush along the side where the spar caught him. The flesh is darkening already, swelling under the skin. You feel a flicker of something ugly in your chest. Relief that it wasn't worse, followed immediately by shame for thinking it. You stand with the others in a loose half-circle. No one stands too close, no one stands too far. The ship creaks softly beneath your feet, almost politely. The sails hang slack. The ocean breathes quietly against the hull. Someone hands you needle and twine. Your hands hesitate for half a second before taking them. The weight feels wrong. Too light, too ordinary. You've used these tools for sails, for canvas, for repairs. Now they're for him. The canvas is laid out beside the body, heavy, stiff. It smells like salt and old work. You help roll him onto it. His weight surprises you, even though he's lost so much already. Dead weight is different. It doesn't help you. It doesn't shift when you expect it to. You adjust your grip and lift again, muscles straining in a way that feels unfair. As you roll the canvas over him, his face disappears. The outline of his nose presses faintly against the fabric before settling. The shape of a man becomes a shape of something else, something wrapped, contained. You kneel and start stitching. Your fingers work automatically at first, in and out, pull tight, knot, in and out. The motion is familiar, comforting in a twisted way. You focus on it to avoid thinking too much. The canvas resists slightly, tough and thick. The twine bites into your fingers where the rope burns haven't healed yet. You welcome the pain. It keeps you present. The smell of canvas mixes with salt air and the faint iron scent of blood that the water didn't quite wash away. It sits in your nose, clean and awful at the same time. As you stitch, the ship rocks gently. The horizon tilts and rights itself. The normal motion feels obscene next to what you're doing. The world hasn't slowed for this. It never does. When you reach the end, you tie the final knot. You hesitate before pulling it tight, just for a moment. Then you do it anyway. A weight is added at the feet, something heavy and solid, practical, necessary. You don't look at it. You don't need to. You know what it's for. The canvas-wrapped shape is lifted with care and carried to the rail. You take one end. The weight pulls on your arms. Your stomach clenches again. But this time it's not hunger. It's something colder. The sea is close, so close. You can see your reflection in it, broken and stretched by ripples. For a brief, stupid moment, you think about how easy it would be to slip, how fast the rolls could reverse. You don't slip. The body is tipped. The canvas slides. For a heartbeat, it rests against the rail, balanced, as if the ship itself is deciding whether to keep him. Then gravity takes over. The splash is smaller than you expect, a dull, final sound. The sea closes immediately, smooth and uncaring. There's no mark left, no ripple that lasts, just water moving on. You stare at the spot longer than you should. You wait for something to happen, a sign, a disturbance, anything that acknowledges what was just given up.
Nothing does. The work resumes almost immediately. Someone coils the spare rope. Someone wipes the deck where blood thinned with water. The canvas scraps are folded away. The needle and twine are returned to their place. Tools put back where they belong. The ship absorbs the death and keeps moving. You go back to your tasks, but something in you has shifted. The hunger feels sharper now, edged with something else. You find yourself calculating unconsciously. How many men are here now? How many mouths? How much food? The thought disgusts you, even as it sticks. At midday, you eat your rations standing. You don't taste it. Your eyes keep drifting to the rail, to the water beyond. You imagine the body sinking, the weight pulling it down fast, the canvas filling, the shape collapsing in on itself. You imagine how cold it must be down there. You shake your head and force your attention back to the deck. The afternoon passes in a strange quiet. Men speak less than usual. Movements are more deliberate. No one jokes. Even small complaints vanish. It's as if everyone is conserving not just energy, but emotion. Below deck, the smell of death lingers faintly, even though it shouldn't. You know it's your imagination, but knowing doesn't erase it. Canvas and rope and salt all smell different now, tinged with meaning they didn't have before. You sit on your bunk and stare at your hands. There's dried blood under one nail. You scrape at it with the edge of your knife until it's gone, but the skin underneath is tender. When night comes, sleep feels dangerous. You lie down anyway. The ship rocks gently. The sounds are softer tonight, almost kind. Your dreams don't give you rest. You dream of stitching over and over, but the canvas is endless. You dream of tying knots that won't hold. You dream of the sea opening its mouth and waiting patiently. You wake with your heart racing, breath shallow. It takes longer than usual to convince yourself where you are. Morning comes again, and with it, the quiet understanding that this was not the worst death you will see out here. It was just the first one that stayed long enough for you to feel it. And the ship, already lighter by one body, feels heavier than ever. You wake already exhausted. Not the tiredness that comes from work or even from hunger. This is deeper, a weight behind your eyes, a pressure in your chest, as if your body used something essential during the night and didn't get it back. You lie still for a moment, listening, because moving feels like a decision you're not ready to make. The ship is quiet, too quiet, not silent, never silent, but subdued. The creaks are slower, the groans lower, the motion gentler.
It feels like the vessel itself is conserving energy, the way sick bodies do.
Your stomach twists before you even sit up. Hunger wakes faster now. It doesn't wait politely. It announces itself with a sharp pull that makes you grit your teeth. You press a hand to your belly and breathe through your nose until the worst of it eases. When you finally sit, the dizziness is immediate. The world darkens at the edges. You stay where you are until it passes, counting the slow rise and fall of the ship to anchor yourself. You don't rush anymore. Rushing costs too much. The smell below deck is unbearable now. Not overwhelming all at once, but constant, clinging. Spoiled food, damp wood, human bodies that haven't been truly dry in days. Oil, canvas, death, faint but persistent, like a memory that won't fade. You stand and feel your legs tremble slightly, not enough to give you away, enough that you notice. You flex your knees and start moving before they can change their mind. On deck, the sun hangs low and pale behind thin cloud. The light feels wrong, washed out, flat, as if the world has lost some of its depth. The sea mirrors it, a dull gray stretching in every direction. No wind worth speaking of, no whales, no signs of anything but water and sky. Work begins as it always does. Routine holds things together. You cling to it. You haul, coil, scrub, repair. Your hands move slower now. Your grip weakens faster. You have to stop and rest more often, leaning on a rail or post, pretending to check something until the tremor in your arms fades. You notice others doing the same. A man drops a tool and just stares at it for a second too long before bending to pick it up. Another stands at the bow, unmoving, eyes locked on the water until someone nudges him and he startles like he's been struck. Laughter comes once, sharp and sudden from somewhere near the galley, and stops just as quickly, leaving a hollow silence behind it. Hunger has become a constant roar in your head. It interferes with everything. It makes your thoughts loop. Food, water, rest. The same ideas circle over and over, chewing at you. You try to think about anything else, but they keep pushing back in. At midday, rations are handed out again, even smaller now. The cook doesn't bother pretending otherwise. You take yours and sit with it for a long moment before eating, staring into the thin liquid like it might change if you look hard enough. When you drink, your stomach cramps hard enough to make you gasp. You double over slightly, hand pressed to your gut, and wait it out. No one comments. No one meets your eyes. Everyone understands. Afterward, your head swims. You feel light, almost floaty. The deck seems to move independently of your body. You correct your stance and keep going. That's when the water starts looking wrong. Not all at once, subtly. A patch of sea ahead looks darker than the rest, smoother, as if something large passed just beneath the surface. Your heart jumps. You step closer to the rail, squinting. The patch shifts, spreads, then breaks apart into ordinary waves. You tell yourself it was nothing. Your eyes are tired, your brain is starving, but you keep watching that spot long after it's gone. Later you hear singing, low, slow, just a few notes, drifting on the air. Your chest tightens. You recognize the tune, though you can't place where from. A work song, maybe, or something older. You turn toward the sound. No one is singing. Men are working, talking quietly. The ship makes its usual noises. There is no song. The sound fades, but the feeling it left behind doesn't. A hollow pull in your chest, a strange longing, sharp and sudden, like missing something you can't name. By afternoon, the line between memory and imagination starts to blur. You find yourself thinking you see the dead man moving among the crew, bent over a line, face hidden. You step toward him before stopping short, heart hammering, as the shape resolves into someone else entirely. You laugh under your breath, a short, broken sound. You don't like the way it feels. Your thoughts drift in strange directions. You imagine food in vivid detail, fat dripping,
bread tearing cleanly, steam rising. Your mouth fills with saliva and you swallow hard. The next moment, the image rots in your head, turning gray and spoilt, and you feel a wave of nausea. The deck seems to stretch and shrink subtly as you walk. Distances feel unreliable. You misjudge a step and stumble, catching yourself on a line just in time. Your heart slams, your hands shake for a long moment afterward. As the sun lowers, the air cools, but you don't feel relief. Cold only sharpens the hunger, makes it bite harder. Your joints ache, your back throbs, your head feels stuffed with cotton. Dinner is barely worth calling a meal. You drink it anyway. You would drink seawater if they let you. You think about that and have to stop yourself from laughing again. Below deck, the shadows look thicker tonight, more solid. You feel them watching you as you move through the narrow spaces. You hear something behind you and turn fast, pulse spiking.
Nothing. You sit on your bunk and stare at the wall. The wood grain seems to shift if you look at it too long, lines moving like slow worms. You blink hard and look away. Sleep takes you abruptly, without warning. One moment you're sitting upright, the next you're falling into darkness. The dreams are worse now. You dream you're standing at the rail, staring into the water. The sea opens, revealing a vast, dark shape beneath the surface, too large to fully see. An eye opens, enormous and calm, and fixes on you. You know, without being told, that it has been watching you for a very long time. You wake with a cry stuck in your throat, heart pounding, sweat cold on your skin. The ship is still there. The creaks are familiar. The darkness presses close. But the dream doesn't fade like the others. The image lingers. The sense of being observed stays with you, heavy and oppressive. You lie back and stare at the ceiling, afraid to close your eyes again. You understand now that hunger has pushed you into a dangerous place. Not just weak, not just tired, thin. Thin enough that the sea can reach into your head. Thin enough that the dead don't stay where they belong. Thin enough that fear no longer needs a reason. And as the ship drifts through the dark, quiet water, you feel certain of one thing. Whatever comes next, you will not meet it with a whole mind. The storm does not announce itself this time. There is no long build-up, no polite warning carried on the wind. You wake to motion so wrong it drags you out of sleep like a hand around your throat. The ship is already rolling hard, snapping you from one side of your bunk to the other. Your shoulder slams into the boards, pain flares, sharp and immediate, and before you can even suck in a breath, the deck drops and your stomach lurches as if the ship has fallen into a hole. You scramble upright, heart pounding, hunger and exhaustion forgotten in the rush of survival. The air below deck feels violent now, pushed and pulled through gaps in the hull. The lantern is swinging wildly, its light jerking across beams and shadows that don't stay still long enough to trust. You don't wait. You grab your boots, your coat, your knife. Your hands fumble with the laces, fingers clumsy and numb. The ship rolls again, and you nearly lose your balance, catching yourself on a post slick with condensation and old grease. The sound hits you before you reach the ladder. Wind. Not gusts, not bursts. A solid, unbroken roar that presses through the deck planks and vibrates in your chest. The kind of sound that tells you this isn't passing quickly. You haul yourself up and onto the deck, and the storm slams into you full force. Rain comes sideways, hard enough to sting. The wind feels like a physical thing, shoving at your body, trying to push you off your feet. The deck is already awash, water racing along the planks in chaotic sheets. Lanterns swing violently, throwing frantic light that barely cuts through the dark. The sky is a solid mass of cloud, low and crushing. There is no moon, no stars, just black and moving gray. You plant your boots wide and brace, knees bent, body low. The ship is heeling sharply now, rolling from one extreme to the other with almost no pause between. Each roll feels heavier than the last, as if the sea is stacking weight against the hull.
Your hunger vanishes completely, replaced by something colder and cleaner. Fear sharp enough to focus you. Your body moves without instruction. You grab lines. You haul when the ship lifts and hold when it drops. You duck instinctively as rigging snaps overhead, ropes whipping through the air like blind snakes. The rain soaks you instantly. Your clothes grow heavy, dragging at your limbs. Water fills your boots, cold and numbing. Your fingers burn as you grip wet rope, then go numb enough that you worry you won't feel it when you let go by accident. The ship groans continuously now, not individual creaks, but a sustained, tortured sound as beams and joints work beyond what they were built for. You feel it through the soles of your feet, through your spine. The ship is flexing, twisting, fighting to stay together. A wave slams into the side hard enough to knock you sideways. You collide with the rail, ribs screaming, and cling to it as another surge of water pours over, knocking your legs out from under you. For a second, you're pinned there again, pressed between wood and sea, breath crushed out of your lungs. You think of the man who went over. You shove back with everything you have. Your muscles scream in protest. You get one knee under you, then the other, and haul yourself upright just as the ship rolls again. You stagger, grab a line, wrap it around your arm without thinking. The rope jerks, nearly tearing you off your feet, and you lean back, weight low, teeth clenched. Lightning flashes, close enough that it turns the deck white and frozen for a heartbeat. In that instant you see the chaos clearly. Torn canvas flapping violently, a spar cracking, splintering further with every swing. Men sprawled low against the deck, clinging to whatever they can. Water piling up against the scuppers faster than it can drain. Thunder follows immediately, a deafening crack that makes you flinch despite yourself. The sound seems to punch the ship from above. The hull shudders in response. The storm does not move on. It stays. It sits on top of you. Minutes stretch into something indistinguishable from hours. You lose track of time entirely. The only markers are waves, countless, relentless, each one demanding your full attention. The pattern never settles. Just when you think you've found the rhythm, it changes again. Your body is failing you in small, terrifying ways. Your arms shake uncontrollably when you haul. Your legs feel slow to respond, delayed by cold and weakness. More than once your foot slips and you barely catch yourself before going down. You start to breathe in short, sharp gasps without meaning to. Your chest feels tight. You force yourself to slow it, knowing panic will finish what hunger started. Another wave hits, larger than the last. The bow digs deep and the water comes over in a solid wall, smashing into you and knocking you flat. You hit the deck hard, cheeks slamming into wood. Pain explodes behind your eyes. For a moment, all you hear is water roaring in your ears. You roll and cough, sucking in air mixed with rain and spray. Your mouth fills with salt. You spit and choke and push yourself back up, blinking rain from your eyes. Someone near you doesn't get back up. You see the shape of a body sliding, carried by water in the ship's roll. Arms flail uselessly. The man grabs for a line and misses. He slams into the rail hard, rebounds, and then the next wave lifts him cleanly and takes him over. This time there is a scream. It's short, high, gone almost immediately, torn apart by wind and water.
Your stomach twists violently. You look toward the spot where he vanished, but there's nothing to see. Just black water churning, indifferent and endless. There is no pause, no chance to stop and mark it. Another wave is already coming. You brace again, mind narrowing to the space of your own body in the next movement. You are soaked, freezing, shaking, and still expected to function. The ship demands it. The list grows worse. You feel it gradually, then all at once. The deck no longer comes back level between rolls. It favors one side, leaning just enough to make every step uncertain. Loose objects slide in unison now, thudding against the rail, piling up where they shouldn't. Below deck, something heavy shifts. You hear it through the hull, a deep, rolling thunder that makes your blood run cold. Barrels, stores, weight moving where weight should not move. Another lightning flash reveals the fear on faces around you. Not wild panic. Worse, tight, controlled terror, the kind that knows exactly how bad this could still get. Your hands slip again. Your grip fails completely and you go down hard, sliding across the deck on your side. Water rushes past your face. You spin helplessly until your boot catches on a cleat and stops you short. Pain shoots up your leg, but you cling to it, gasping. You realize distantly that you're laughing, not out loud, inside your head, a thin, hysterical sound that frightens you more than the storm. You force it down and haul yourself upright again. The wind never lets up. It howls without pause, flattening everything in its path. Rain batters you until your skin feels bruised. Your teeth chatter uncontrollably. Cold has worked its way deep into you now, stiffening your joints, dulling your reflexes. The ship takes another brutal hit. This one feels different, heavier. The hull shudders, and then there's a sound you haven't heard before, a long, tearing groan that rises from below, like something being ripped open slowly. You stagger and grab for support as the deck tilts more sharply. The list increases suddenly. Not much. Enough. Men scramble to counterbalance, to secure what they can, but you can feel the truth in the way the ship responds. She's hurt. Badly. The storm does not care. Wave after wave slams into the damaged side, exploiting the weakness. Each impact drives the list a little farther. Your muscles burn constantly now, never getting relief. You don't know how much longer your body can keep answering demands. Another man goes down hard near you, smashing his head on the deck. He doesn't move. You start toward him automatically, then freeze as a spar swings loose overhead, smashing down where you would have been standing a second earlier. The impact sends splinters flying.
You back away, heart hammering, sick with the understanding that saving someone else might mean dying yourself. Lightning flashes again, closer still. The thunder that follows feels like it's inside your skull. For an instant, you think the ship itself is split in half. The water level on deck rises higher now between waves. It doesn't drain fast enough. Each surge adds to what's already there. You wade instead of walk, legs heavy and sluggish. Your vision tunnels. The edges darken. You blink hard, trying to stay focused. You cannot afford to pass out. You know what happens to bodies that stop moving on a deck like this. The storm stretches on without mercy. No lull, no easing, just constant assault. At some point, exhaustion overtakes fear. Your body moves mechanically, hauling when told, bracing when needed, reacting without thought. Pain fades into a distant background noise. Cold becomes a fact rather than a sensation. You are dimly aware of how thin you feel, how weak hunger has made you. Every movement costs more than it should. Your strength is burning faster than it can be replaced. The thought comes unbidden and terrifyingly calm. You might not have enough left. The ship rolls again, harder than before, and this time it doesn't come back as far. The list holds. You cling to the rail, rain streaming down your face, chest heaving, and stare into the black water rushing past just inches below. The storm shows no sign of ending. And for the first time since you stepped aboard this ship, the possibility settles in your mind with brutal clarity. This might not be a night you survive. You don't notice the change right away. That's the cruel part. After so many hours of punishment, your body no longer trusts relief. Every nerve is tuned to impact, to strain, to the next blow. So when the wind eases, not stops, just eases, you assume it's a trick, a pause before something worse. You cling to the rail, fingers numb and burning at the same time, chest heaving. Rain still lashes down, but it's thinner now, less solid. The ship rolls again, but the motion is slower, heavier, less violent. The deck no longer snaps from one angle to the other. It lingers. You wait for the next wave to hit as hard as the last. It doesn't. Another comes, still dangerous, still powerful, but not crushing. The impact rattles the hull instead of slamming it. Water pours over the deck, but not as deep, not as fast. The scuppers start to win again, just barely. You don't feel hope yet. You feel confusion. Your body is shaking uncontrollably now, not just from cold, from the sudden absence of constant impact. Your muscles don't know what to do without immediate threat. They tremble, misfire. You tighten your grip to stop your hands from visibly shaking, though you doubt anyone would notice. Everyone looks broken in their own way.
The wind drops another notch. The roar fades into something closer to a howl, still loud, still dangerous, but no longer absolute. You hear voices again, real ones, not torn completely apart by the storm. Orders start making sense. Movements become less frantic, more purposeful. Men begin standing instead of crawling. Lines are secured instead of just clung to. The storm is loosening its grip. You lean your forehead briefly against the wet rail, eyes closed, rain running down your face and mixing with sweat you didn't know you were still producing. Your breath comes in ragged pulls. Each inhale burns your chest like you've been running for hours. You don't let yourself rest long. You've seen what happens when men stop moving too soon. The ship still lists badly. That hasn't changed. The deck tilts under your boots at an angle that keeps your balance off. Loose debris is piled against the low side, broken gear, coils of rope, splintered wood, evidence of how close you came to losing everything. Lightning flashes again, but farther away now. The thunder follows with a longer delay. The space between light and sound stretches, and you recognize that distance like a promise you don't quite believe yet. The rain eases into something closer to heavy drizzle. Your skin prickles as cold takes full hold without the distraction of constant motion. You realize how soaked you are, how heavy your clothes feel, how stiff your fingers have become. You flex them slowly, watching them respond a heartbeat later than you expect. That's when you see it. At first, you think it's another trick of exhaustion, another hallucination pulled out of hunger and fear. A faint glow on the horizon, barely distinct from the gray-black sky. You blink hard, wipe rain from your eyes with the back of your hand. The glow is still there. You straighten slightly, heart skipping in a way that has nothing to do with panic. The ship rolls, and you nearly lose your footing, catching yourself on a line, but your eyes never leave that point in the distance. It's small, weak, just a pinprick of steady light, not lightning, not a star. Something fixed, something human. Your breath catches painfully in your throat. You don't call out. You don't trust your voice yet. You don't trust your mind. The light moves, not fast, not erratically. It rises and falls gently, in time with the sea. A lantern, another ship. The realization hits you slowly, then all at once, and your knees nearly give out. You grip the rail harder, knuckles white beneath numb skin. You're not alone out here. You're not the only thing fighting the ocean tonight. The light grows brighter as the minutes pass, or maybe your eyes are just adjusting. Another flash of lightning reveals a darker shape beneath it, a low silhouette against the sea. Hull, mast, canvas. A whaler, most likely, or a merchantman. It doesn't matter. What matters is that it floats, that it carries people, that it sees light too. Word spreads fast, despite exhaustion. You see heads turning, bodies shifting. A ripple of movement passes through the deck as others spot it. You hear something dangerously close to a cheer, quickly strangled by discipline and disbelief. Hope is fragile out here. Everyone knows better than to grab it too hard. The storm isn't done yet. The sea is still rough. The ship still lists. You're still in danger. But the night has cracked open, just a little. Signals go up, lanterns raised, movements slow but deliberate as men force tired hands to work. Your arms protest violently as you help hoist light higher, every muscle screaming from cold and overuse. You grit your teeth and push through it. This work matters more than any before it. The other ship responds. You see it clearly now, a second light answering yours, steady and deliberate, not drifting away, not ignoring you, answering. Your chest tightens painfully. You swallow hard, throat raw. The wind drops another notch. The rain thins further, turning into scattered bursts instead of a solid sheet. The waves still roll high, but the pattern is more predictable now. The ship rides them instead of fighting blindly. You realize you're crying only when your vision blurs. The tears are hot against your cold skin, almost painful. You don't wipe them away. You don't have the energy to be embarrassed. The other ship draws closer, slowly, cautiously, respecting the damaged state of your vessel. You can make out more detail now. Rigging, sail outlines, the faint movement of men on deck. They see your list. They see your damage. They don't turn away. You feel something loosen in your chest that's been locked tight for days, maybe weeks, maybe since the moment you first smelled oil and rot and realized what kind of voyage this would be. The storm continues to fade, grudgingly, as if insulted by your survival. Wind becomes manageable. Rain becomes intermittent. The sea never goes flat, but it stops trying to tear you apart. The ships draw near enough that you can hear sounds carry across the water. Not words yet, just the creak of wood, the splash of waves against another hull. Proof. You slump briefly against the rail, legs shaking too hard to support you. Someone grips your shoulder and steadies you. You don't look to see who it is. The touch alone is enough. Ropes are prepared, lines checked. Everything takes longer than it should, because everyone is half frozen, half starved, and running on fumes. Still, it gets done. Slowly, carefully. You stand there, breathing hard, watching the gap between the ships close, feeling the roll and pitch beneath your feet, and knowing that one bad movement could still kill you. The danger isn't gone. It's just changed shape.
The light from the other ship spills across the water now, reflecting in broken lines. It illuminates the damage on your own deck, torn canvas, broken gear, bloodstains scrubbed thin but not erased. It looks worse in borrowed light. You wonder what they see when they look at you. Men are lowered into boats despite the swell. Risky, necessary. The decision is made quickly. You help where you can, though your arms feel like they're filled with wet sand. Each movement is deliberate, controlled. As the boats draw away, you watch them with a tight knot in your chest. You don't know whether to feel relief or terror. Rescue still requires survival. Time stretches again, but differently now. Not endless, measured. Each minute brings the other ship closer. Each successful pass of rope feels like a small victory wrestled from the sea. Finally, lines are secured. The ships are bound together at a careful distance, riding the waves as one wounded thing instead of two separate targets. You sag against the rail, utterly spent. The night is quieter now. Not peaceful, but quieter. The storm grumbles far off, retreating reluctantly. The sky lightens just a fraction at the horizon, hinting at morning. You look at the other ship again, at the men moving with purpose and strength you no longer feel. You feel small in comparison, fragile, used up, but alive. That thought lands hard and strange. Alive. You draw a shaky breath and let it out slowly. Your body hurts everywhere. Your hands are raw. Your legs feel unreliable. Your head still swims with exhaustion and hunger and images you don't want to revisit. But the sea did not finish you tonight. The light on the horizon didn't fade. And as the ships ride out the last of the rough water together, bound by rope and human stubbornness, you understand something with aching clarity. Survival is not triumph. It is simply permission to keep carrying what happened next. You step onto land and it feels wrong. Not dangerous, not hostile, just wrong in a way that makes your stomach tighten. The ground doesn't move. It doesn't roll or hesitate or shift under your weight. It stays exactly where it is, solid and unmoving, and your body doesn't trust it. You take another step, and your balance overcorrects automatically, muscles bracing for motion that never comes. Your legs shake anyway. The air smells clean in a way that almost hurts. Not clean like washed wood or rain, but open. Soil, plants, smoke from distant fires. You breathe it in and feel your chest tighten painfully, as if your lungs aren't used to this much space. You cough hard and deep until your eyes water.
People are everywhere. Too many. They move quickly and confidently, walking without holding on to anything, laughing too loud, talking all at once. Their voices feel sharp against your ears. You flinch at sudden sounds without meaning to. A dropped crate makes your heart jump into your throat. You tell yourself you're safe. You tell yourself the sea is behind you. Your body doesn't listen. Someone leads you forward. You follow because following is easier than choosing a direction yourself. Your boots scrape against packed earth and stone. The sensation is strange underfoot. Every step feels slightly off, like walking on a deck that forgot to move. You notice how light feels different here. It comes from everywhere at once, not bouncing off water, not broken by spray. It fills spaces instead of flashing. It makes you squint and turn your head away. You catch your reflection briefly in a window or polished surface and almost don't recognize yourself. Your face looks hollowed out, cheeks sunken, eyes too large, set too deep, skin cracked and rough, marked by salt and wind and old bruises. You look older than you should. They give you food, real food. You hold it in your hands and don't eat right away. It smells rich, heavy. Your stomach tightens painfully, warning you not to rush. You break off a small piece and chew carefully. The taste hits your tongue and something inside you almost breaks. It's overwhelming, fat, warmth, substance. You swallow slowly, afraid your body will reject it. It stays down. You eat more, still careful, aware of every movement inside your gut. Each bite brings relief and discomfort in equal measure. Your hands shake. You don't stop. You notice the quiet then, not the absence of sound, but the absence of the ship. No creaking timbers, no constant low groan, no water slapping the hull. The silence presses in around you, heavy and unfamiliar. You strain for sounds that aren't there. That's when it hits you. The floor isn't moving. Not subtly, not at all. You sway slightly where you stand, waiting for the correction that never comes. Your knees bend and straighten reflexively. You grab the edge of a table before you realize you're doing it. Your heart starts racing. You force yourself to let go. Your balance wobbles. You steady, slowly, uncertainly. Someone speaks to you. You nod, but the words don't stick. They slide past your ears without settling. You catch pieces, questions, concern, instructions, but they don't feel meant for you. You answer when expected, voice coming out hoarse and unfamiliar. When you finally sit or lie down somewhere meant for rest, your body doesn't understand the invitation. The surface is too still, too wide. You expect to be thrown to one side, to brace, to grip. None of it happens. You close your eyes, and your mind fills in the motion anyway. You feel the roll of the ship beneath you, phantom and insistent. You feel the list. You feel the rise and fall. Your stomach lurches and you open your eyes again, gasping. You're on land. You know that. You keep reminding yourself. Sleep comes in fits, short bursts followed by sudden waking. Each time your heart is racing, breath shallow, hands clutching at air. You expect to smell oil and salt. Instead, there's clean linen, wood smoke, something faintly sweet. It feels like a trick. When you walk outside again, the horizon looks wrong. Too close, too fixed. The sky feels heavy without the endless water beneath it. You find yourself scanning instinctively for changes in wind, in light, in cloud patterns that no longer matter. Your body stays tense, always braced. You hear water nearby, a river maybe, or waves against a dock, and your pulse spikes instantly.
You turn toward it, heart hammering, every sense sharpening. It takes a moment to realize you're not in danger. People look at you differently now, with curiosity, with concern. Some with a kind of distance they don't realize they're keeping. You can see it in their posture, in the way they listen. They know something happened to you, even if they don't know what. You try to explain it to yourself first. You survived a storm. You lost men. You were hungry. You were afraid. The words feel thin, inadequate. At night, you lie awake and listen to the quiet. It's never fully silent. There's wind, distant voices, small animals moving, but it lacks the constant living noise of the ship. The absence makes your ears ring. You miss the creaks before you understand why. Your dreams don't soften. If anything, they sharpen. You dream of the deck tilting beneath you, of water rushing past your face, of ropes snapping and bodies sliding. You wake with your heart pounding, convinced you're still at sea. Sometimes you smell oil where there is none. Sometimes you feel the roll so strongly you have to sit down until it passes. Food helps, warmth helps, time helps a little, but none of it resets you the way you expect. There's no clean line between before and after. You realize something uncomfortable as days pass. The sea didn't stay behind you. It followed you here, folded up inside your body, tucked into your muscles and nerves and breath. It surfaces when you're tired, when it's quiet, when you close your eyes. You survived.
You were rescued, but standing on solid ground, under a sky that doesn't move, you understand that survival has changed the shape of you, and whatever comes next, you will carry the ship with you long after its hull has disappeared over the horizon. Night comes quietly now. That's what unsettles you most. There's no warning bell, no change in wind, no subtle tightening in the air that tells you to brace. Darkness just arrives, slow and ordinary, and the world accepts it without resistance. You sit or lie where you've been put and wait for the moment when the ground should begin to move. It never does. You close your eyes and feel it anyway. The roll comes first, gentle but insistent, a rise beneath your spine, a pause, a drop. Your stomach tightens in response, muscles bracing automatically. Your breath shortens. You wait for the next motion, counting without realizing it. 1, 2, 3. Nothing. You open your eyes again, heart thudding, and stare into the dark of a room that smells of dry wood and clean air. The ceiling doesn't sway, the walls don't creak, there is no water pressing against anything. Your body doesn't believe this. You sit up slowly, careful as if sudden movement might anger the ground. Your feet touch the floor, and you feel its refusal to move, solid, unforgiving. You press your weight down deliberately, testing it. Still nothing. Your chest feels tight, like something is stuck behind your ribs. You breathe in and out, shallow at first, then deeper, forcing air into places that forgot how to expand without effort. Your heart keeps racing anyway. You listen. There are sounds, distant voices, a door closing somewhere, the faint hum of life continuing, but they feel thin compared to what you're used to. None of them warn you, none of them demand anything, none of them tell you what's about to happen. The waiting becomes unbearable. On the ship, waiting meant purpose, watchfulness, survival. Here, it's empty, directionless. You don't know what you're supposed to be ready for, and that makes everything worse. You stand and pace the room. Each step feels slightly wrong, like your legs expect resistance that never comes. You turn too sharply and stumble, catching yourself on a wall that doesn't shift beneath your hand. Your pulse spikes hard enough to make you dizzy. You laugh once, quietly, a short sound that dies immediately. It doesn't feel like humor. It feels like pressure escaping. When you finally lie back down, you keep one hand clenched in the fabric beneath you, knuckles white, as if the floor might try to slide out from under you when you're not paying attention. Sleep does not come gently. When it comes, it drags you under without warning. You are back on deck. Not the storm this time. Worse. Calm water. Flat and endless. The sky is pale and empty. The ship lists, but no one corrects it. You look around and realize you are alone. No voices, no footsteps, no creaks. The ship moves anyway. You walk toward the rail and look down. The water is clear enough to see far below, farther than should be possible. Shapes drift in it, canvas-wrapped, pale, unmoving. Faces press faintly against fabric. You recognize them all. You try to step back, but the deck tilts sharply and you slide forward, boots scraping uselessly. Your hands claw at the rail and find nothing. The wood crumbles under your grip, rotten and soft. You wake gasping, throat burning, heart hammering so hard it hurts. You sit up and wait for the room to tilt. It doesn't. Sweat runs cold down your back. Your hands shake violently now, no effort to hide it. You press them against your thighs until they still. Morning comes eventually. Light seeps in around edges. Birds call somewhere outside. Ordinary sounds from an ordinary world. You feel like you're observing it from behind thick glass. Food is offered again. You eat because you've learned what happens when you don't. Your body accepts it more easily now, but the hunger hasn't fully left. It lingers in strange ways, less sharp, more constant, like an echo that won't fade. You find yourself eating quickly anyway, guarding each bite without meaning to. You notice how often you scan doorways, how you sit with your back to walls, how sudden movements make your shoulders jump, how your eyes track shadows even in broad daylight. Someone asks if you're all right. You say yes. The word comes out automatically, polished and empty. It satisfies them enough to move on. You watch them go with a strange mix of relief and resentment. You don't know how to explain that all right doesn't mean what it used to. Days pass, or maybe weeks. Time feels different now, too loose in some places, too tight in others. You lose whole stretches to blankness and then remember single moments with painful clarity. The sound of a rope snapping, the weight of a body through canvas, the color of water at night. The sea is never far. You hear it in unexpected places, in wind through narrow streets, in the rush of carts over stone, in the low murmur of crowds. Sometimes it's so clear you turn your head before you can stop yourself, heart already racing. You stop going near the docks. You stop going near water at all when you can help it. Rivers make your palms sweat. Waves make your chest tighten. Even rain sets you on edge, especially when it comes hard and fast, drumming against surfaces in a way that feels too familiar. At night, you still count. Rolls that don't come. Breaths. Heartbeats. You wake at the slightest sound, convinced something has gone wrong. You lie there listening long after the noise has passed, waiting for the next one. Sometimes you smell oil. It comes out of nowhere, sharp and thick and unmistakable. You freeze when it happens, breath shallow, mind racing back to heat and smoke and blubber melting down into profit. The smell fades eventually, leaving you shaken and embarrassed, though no one else noticed. Sometimes you feel the list, a sudden tilt in your gut, a sensation of imbalance so strong you have to grab something solid. You stand still until it passes, jaw clenched, pretending you just lost your footing. People talk about the voyage as if it has an ending. They say you were lucky. They say you made it. They say it could have been worse. You nod. You let them believe that. You don't correct them when they talk about the storm as something that came and went. You don't tell them how it never really left, how it waits quietly now, folded into memory and muscle and nerve. You notice changes in yourself that feel permanent. You are quieter, more watchful. You measure rooms instinctively, looking for exits, for cover, for solid things to hold. You eat when food is available, even when you're not hungry. You flinch when ropes snap or wood cracks, even in harmless contexts. You sleep lightly, if at all. And yet, you are alive. That fact sits strangely in you, heavy, complicated. There are moments, rare and fleeting, when you feel something like gratitude for solid ground, for warm food, for a body that still moves when asked. Then guilt follows close behind.
You think of the men who didn't step onto land, who didn't taste clean air, who didn't get the chance to be haunted by survival. Their absence presses in on you, especially in quiet moments, and you wonder why you were spared when they weren't. There is no answer that satisfies. One night, long after you've stopped expecting sleep to come easily, you lie awake and realize something with a clarity that hurts. You are no longer waiting for the disaster. You are waiting for the feeling of being safe to make sense. It hasn't yet. The ship still exists in you, in the way your body tightens at night, in the way your mind scans for threats that aren't there, in the way the sea shows up uninvited, again and again, in dreams and smells and sudden flashes of fear. You understand now that the voyage did not end when you stepped off the deck. It ended only in distance. The night on the whaling ship did not pass. It settled. And as you lie there in the dark, listening to a world that no longer moves beneath you, you accept a final truth, not with peace, but with resignation. You survived the sea, but you will carry it for the rest of your life, waiting.